Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News channel. U.S. Consulate in Toronto shot up today. We'll have details on that. CBC hearings revealing what has been out in the open for a long time, and that's that CBC has a bias and they have some employee problems. So we'll have some information on that for you. The Iran war, of course, rages on tonight, even as Trump says it is coming to a quick conclusion. Many signs suggest otherwise. Who knows where this is really going? We do know this. It's ongoing tonight with some of the most intense strikes against Iran so far in this war, conflict. And criticism aimed at Mark Carney for not showing up for last night's 5 hours approximately last night, the debate on the Iran war in the House of Commons. I explained from my perspective why I think he wasn't there, but he was back in the House of Commons today, where the sparring during question period resumed, and it wasn't the official debate of note that we saw last night, but it was question period, and the first topic, right off the top, the war in Iran. Everything seems to circle around the war in Iran. Oh, also, Donald Trump called Mark Carney the future governor of the 51st state today. So we'll have all that and more. Oh, and one other thing. Life of a salesman. This is sort of a personal op-ed that will shed a totally different perspective on the whole Iran situation, tariffs, and the geopolitical realities that face us today. Life of a salesman. Probably the best. It'll be probably the best part of tonight's broadcast. So stick around. That'll be at the end. And I'm going to get my dad's help at the very end of the program tonight too. So that will be of great assistance to me and hopefully to you as well. Stay with me. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we have so much happening because of the war in Iran. We have a situation we're going to get to here in a moment about the U.S. Consulate in Toronto being the target of a sort of a drive-by shooting today. That has become an international incident. We have also tonight an active shooter opening fire at a synagogue near Baltimore. And this is pretty fresh. I have some video from that. Seems like the everything seems to be escalating, and this comes as we are also getting reports, warnings that Iran may be activating sleeper cells in Canada and the United States. This is what looked like in Baltimore today, just a short time ago. So you have all that going on, and also situation in Toronto. Toronto police and RCMP both investigating after this shooting outside the U.S. consulate in Toronto's downtown. It is being called a national security incident. Police responded around 5:30 this morning. When officers got to the scene, they found evidence of gunfire. Shell casings were there, and there was damage to the building. Fortunately, no one injured. Streets all around the consulate closed. Police conducting their investigation. This is in the University Ave area, 300 block. Deputy Police Chief Frank Barreto says there was evidence of a white Honda CRV, which was seen traveling westbound on Dundas Street, then turned on south onto University Avenue before stopping in front of the consulate. Just looking for the latest here. See if we have any new information as of this hour. Here's more video. Right here. Multiple shots fired in this incident. And keep in mind that the concerns about sleeper cells being possibly activated are for both Canada and the United States. So this is what it looked like on the street. Okay, and it is making headlines across the border as well. Here's Fox News with their coverage. Switch the feed. I'll give you their perspective on this.
Home and making sure, the question that you highlight, we should be redoubling our efforts on counterintelligence here at home and make.
Let me get you the audio.
The question that you highlighted was this a terror cell, and he answered as most people would.
One moment while I get the audio for you. I'm sorry. Okay. Now you can hear it.
these cells exist, because in counterintelligence, we should be redoubling our efforts on counterintelligence here at home and making sure, the question that you highlighted, was this a terror cell? And he answered, as most people would, we don't know for sure if there's a terror cell or if there's not a terror cell, which is exactly why we have to assume there are terror cells, and we have to posture accordingly. So that's the message, I think, going forward, is that we must posture as if these cells exist, because in counterintelligence, you always have to assume the worst, and that's the worst case scenario. We should be
Yeah. All right, we have more on this coming up. Stay with me. Lots to unpack.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. It custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day.
Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations, proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
All right. There was a news conference held midday today, like late morning. This is where authorities did confirm this is being treated as a national security threat.
We believe the shooting happened at 4:30, around 4:29 in fact.
And then someone called in unit at 5:30?
Exactly. Or actually an officer was flagged down. So there was a gap. This is why when we share the time of the event, we would like people to be aware that that would be the time. If you were in this area, if you have dash cam footage, for instance, it would have been around 4:30 or so that we believe the incident to have taken place. Again, I'll state that it's early, so investigators are still piecing things together. But this is an early understanding of when we think the timeline may have been.
And to speak flight now, police, was that someone who works at the consulate?
I don't have that information to share at the moment.
Did both individuals that got out of the vehicle, they both had firearms and both shot at the building? Is that your understanding?
It's unfortunately because the investigation is still very active and early. I can't share that. I can tell you that there was a handgun that was discharged and that both individuals were involved in that discharge.
And what time do you believe the shooting?
Okay. Now, the Premier of Ontario also weighed in on this.
I want to begin by condemning the shooting at the U.S. Consulate. I had a meeting actually planned with the Consul General, Baxter Hunt, and he's a very good man. We had to cancel it, but I can reassure the Consul General and our U.S. friends and allies that we're going to throw everything at this. I had the opportunity to speak to the OPP Commissioner, and he reassured me that he's working collaboratively with all three levels of government, our municipal police, our provincial, and our federal police, and I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to catch these criminals, and we're going to hold them accountable, and they're going to face the full extent of the law. It's absolutely unacceptable what we've been seeing over the last week with the shootings at synagogues, Jewish synagogues across the city in the 905. We're going to, again, throw every resource to hold these people to account. You know, folks, this is Ontario, Canada. We've never seen this in our entire lives. Shootings, no matter if it's the Consulate or if it's places worship. And this goes for every single religion, no matter if it's, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and every other religion. I always say we have 110 religions, and I will do the same if any other place of worship gets attacked. And again, it's unacceptable that we're seeing this in the greatest city, the greatest province, greatest country in the entire world. But we will not spare a penny to make sure we hold these people accountable, and we're going to go full steam at this. So I'll open it up to the questions, and we can go from there.
What can the province do to help solve the shooting at the U.S. Consulate?
Well, we're going to support our police. We're going to give them all the tools that they need to get this done. And I don't direct the police, but I have all the confidence in the world in our police. And I'm very confident we're going to apprehend these criminals, and they're going to face full extent of the law.
Have you got any indication from police that these shootings in synagogues and this shooting at the Consulate are related in any way, the same people involved?
Yeah, no, we haven't had any information on that. But again, this is just me speaking. I believe there's sleeper cells all over the world, as we know. They're in the U.S., they're in Canada here, and we have to weed these people out and hold them accountable. Because again, folks, we all grew up here, very peaceful, loving communities all across the province, and for these people to be doing this, they need to be caught, and they need to be thrown in jail for life.
You had a briefing on RCMP or?
No, I haven't had a briefing from the RCMP. I did speak to the commissioner this morning. Again, this is my personal opinion, and I don't think I'm too far off with saying that. It's a different world now that we're facing, and we're seeing it around the world with turmoil happening everywhere, and we're going to make sure it doesn't land on our shores. Right now, it's I've never seen anything like it in all the years I've lived here, which is my whole life.
Is your government considering any legislation to create protection zones around places?
We're gonna look at that. What I recommended to the Solicitor General, that, and he agrees, we need to put cameras up around any places of worship. It doesn't matter what religion you are. If you're being attacked, we will have cameras up that will take snapshots of license plates and follow up with that. We also have special prosecution teams, when I spoke to the Attorney General, specifically geared for hate crimes. And as we prosecute them to the full extent of the law, then it goes to the courts. And I surely hope that these judges throw the key away and put these people in jail.
Is it time for minimum sentencing?
I've been in favor of that right from day one. We need minimum sentencing, and if you commit a heinous crime, then you need to go to jail for X, whatever time period that is. And I encourage the federal government to look at this. I've encouraged them before to look at it. I know it was shot down under Prime Minister Harper. In my opinion, it was too broad. I think we have to narrow the scope on minimum sentencing and approach it again. I don't know anyone out there that is not in favor of a heinous crime happening, be it to a person, to a place of worship, or to any consulate or ambassadors that have their offices in Ottawa. Unacceptable. We have a responsibility to protect the people of Ontario, and I will do everything I possibly can in my powers to make that happen.
Premier, if you can't get Mayor Chow to agree to your idea to have jets and expansion at the Airport, Will you move to take the city out of the tripartite deal?
Okay. From Toronto and the Premier of Ontario, we go to Ottawa for reaction from the Prime Minister and his team.
Sir, the shootings at the U.S. Consulate, the shootings at the synagogues, what are your thoughts on those, please?
Well, they're extremely concerning. We convened the incident response group on the weekend because of the situation in Iraq, but also to ensure that all forces and resources of the federal government are cooperating with local police and provincial police, obviously with respect to the shootings at the synagogues. I have had conversations with members of the Jewish community. We're coordinating, as you saw from the RCMP, deeming the shooting at the U.S. Consulate a national security incident, and we'll use the full weight of resources and ensure that the perpetrators feel the full weight of justice. C'est la même chose. C'est très concernant les quatre événements, les quatre fusillades, en effet, avec les synagogues et puis le consulat des États-Unis. On va utiliser, nous sommes en train d'utiliser toutes les forces du gouvernement fédéral en coopération avec la police municipale et provinciale afin de mettre les perpétrateurs aux justice. Okay, merci beaucoup.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everybody. I'm providing a consular update relating to our consular supports and assistance for Canadians in the Middle East region. Since March 4th, more than 4,300 Canadians, permanent residents, and family members arrived in Canada through direct and indirect routes from the Middle East and Gulf region. In fact, since February 28th, more than 7,000 Canadians have arrived in Canada through indirect and direct routes from the Middle East and the Gulf region. Global Affairs has provided direct assistance to Canadians, including visa facilitation for border crossings, assistance securing accommodations and onward travel, hundreds of block-booked seats on commercial flights, several buses to reach a safe third country for onward travel, and a charter flight with more possible if demand warrants. The point that I want to make clear today is that we will continue to provide options for Canadians who wish to leave the region. I want to underline that demand has begun to decrease, and in particular, while we encourage Canadians to leave the region through commercial means, we will continue to offer support through block bookings, through charter flights if demand warrants, as well as through bus routes. And then finally, in the last 24 hours, call volumes have dropped to just over 600 compared to a peak of nearly 1,400 calls per day last week. And recent calls primarily relate to things like travel documents, flight options, travel advice, and updates for Canadians who are registered abroad. Et en français, depuis
Yeah. Now, the craziness, the disruptions, the violence is spiraling globally. In Switzerland, this is fresh, just information coming online now. The incident itself, I believe, just a couple of hours ago, 2-3 hours ago, maybe 4 hours, but information just circulating now with regard to this incident in Switzerland. Bus fire. This is a case of, and I caution you, this is graphic. Viewer discretion advised. This appears to be a case of self-immolation where someone poured gasoline on him or herself and set him or herself on fire.
Oh my God!
So this is in Cursors. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Small town in the canton of Freiburg, about 20 to 26 kilometers west of Bern. Fire broke out on the main street shortly before the bus reached its final stop. This was information I'm getting here. It was around 6:25 p.m. local time. And according to eyewitnesses, the man poured gasoline over himself inside the bus, then ignited it. This triggered a massive fire with meter-high flames bursting from the windows and thick black smoke. The bus was quickly engulfed. Firefighters responded rapidly, but the vehicle was completely destroyed, as you just saw. And we have these dramatic videos now surfacing online and coming to us this evening. Police are investigating. They're treating it as a deliberate incident. They're saying they have opened a criminal investigation. Public prosecutors involved. Police currently treating the fire, again, as a deliberate act. They have not confirmed or ruled out any specific motives, for example, suicide or terrorism. They say it's just too early for firm conclusions at this point. A hotline has been set up in that community in Switzerland for relatives. The scene cordoned off with tarps, barriers. Recovery operations are ongoing, and this is a developing story tonight. So we don't have exact victim details. Again, the man's identity, motive, final casualty confirmations is still pending. This investigation continuing. No other recent incidents like this that we're aware of in Switzerland, but escalating concerns globally as these reports of possible terror cells or sleeper cells being activated by Iran tonight as an extension of this military action against Iran by the United States and Israel this evening. Okay. And again, let's just go back over here. I'm just going to, for perspective, go back to a Fox News report just to give you a sense of how they're covering this on the U.S.
Canadian
side.
police reporting that the U.S. Consulate in Toronto has been hit by gunfire. That's all the detail we have. Let's watch live.
I would also like to
this was earlier this morning.
Ask that any members of the public who may have some evidence, some dash cam footage, some video footage, anything that might be suspicious activity that could be connected to this, that they please contact the police to assist us with our investigation. Again, I will repeat, the suspect vehicle was a white Honda CR-V. There were two males, two individuals that emerged and discharged the firearms. This is early in the investigation, and of course, as it unfolds and we're able to provide more information, we will surely do so.
Breaking news, Canadian police reporting that the U.S. Consulate in Toronto has been hit.
And we'll pull that down. And yeah, they have a suspect vehicle, and they are asking for the public's help, hoping someone may have seen something. Maybe they can provide some video. And these days there are cameras everywhere, but as you just heard from Doug Ford, they would like to increase surveillance. More and more, we inch closer to a police state every time we have a security concern like this. Here's CP24. U.S. Consulate shooting in Toronto being investigated as a national security incident, as I said. And there is a picture of that white SUV, which I was just looking for, and there it is for you to see. So that was captured on security camera footage. Also, sources telling us that other consulate locations, including in Ottawa, are not just Toronto, but Ottawa as well, on high alert tonight. And so that apparently is the vehicle that was involved. 2 people inside got out and apparently were involved in the shooting itself. CTV coverage here.
The information they have and what they want. Raheem.
Sandy, there are more than a dozen surveillance cameras lining the U.S. Consulate building here in downtown Toronto, and police and other officials will be combing through all of the footage as they investigate this national security incident. A heavy police presence outside the U.S. Consulate on University Avenue before sunrise. The front door of the building showing evidence of being shot at. Hanging inside, a portrait of U.S. President Donald Trump.
Whether it's a terrorist event or not, that'll be subject to the investigation that will be undertaken in the coming days and weeks.
The RCMP and federal agencies are working in tandem with Toronto police, searching for this suspect vehicle, a white Honda CR-V. They say it stopped in front of the U.S. Consulate around 4:30 this morning.
2 individuals emerged from the vehicle, discharged at what appears to be a handgun at the front of the building, and then got back into their vehicle and drove southbound.
And that gives you a sense of the coverage on both sides of the border. We've had reaction from both the Premier now, the Prime Minister, Foreign Affairs Minister, updating us on what's going on with efforts to get Canadians out of the Middle East and specifically Iran. Last night we brought you the House of Commons debate on the war in Iran. As I say, that dragged on for about 5 hours. There was no vote. It was simply an opportunity for all parties to air their grievances, questions, comments, question each other, and I guess even inform the Canadian people to some degree of where the issue stands and where all of these different parties stand. It appears the Conservatives very much in favor of supporting the U.S. efforts in the Middle East in a full and complete way. In other words, getting involved in the conflict directly. Mark Carney today, though, saying Canada is not going to participate, will never participate, I believe, were his exact words, in the Iran offensive. Keep in mind what I said about this last night. It's important to listen very, very carefully to the words, listen to them exactly, because then you will see how the political word game is being played. So you can say something and make it sound like you could mean this or that. What did he say? Canada will not support the U.S. offensive. But defensive actions could be something different. Today, Mark Carney back in the House of Commons. He wasn't present for last night's debate on the war in Iran, which happened in the evening after the regular House proceedings, question period. Today, back on the floor for question period, where he was basically forced to take questions and provide some answers. Let's listen in. This also highlights some of the key information I think that we need tonight to provide not just coverage here, but proper context for some of the stuff about to come up.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
On a toujours eu.
There have always been wars in the Middle East, and we can't control those things. But here, at home, we didn't have these problems. People would keep these problems at home. After 10 years of out-of-control liberal policies on the border, on law and order, they've allowed criminals, terrorists, and illegal weapons to enter this country. And criminals are on our street. Now, there are shootings at synagogues, Iranian dissidents being killed, other shootings. 700 regime agents are here. What will the Prime Minister do to restore safety in this country? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the government deplores the shootings on synagogues in Toronto at the American Consulate. This is one of the reasons why the government is vigilant with respect to terrorists. The Revolutionary Guard are registered as a terrorist entity.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
But the Liberal Prime Minister allows these terrorists to stay in the country, is not deporting them. We need to be safe here and affordable, have an affordable life. And before this war, the Prime Minister, this Liberal Prime Minister, delivered the worst food inflation in the G7. Inflation that has caused an increase in the cost of food higher than in other countries. It has to do with his own inflationary taxes and policies. Will he undo these inflationary taxes and policies so that Canadians can afford groceries? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the government is taking action against the Revolutionary Guard Corps. There are 10,000 people who are disallowed from this country. We are taking action with respect to Canadians' spending power. We've reduced taxes for Canadians. We've increased benefits, food benefits. We have provided daycare to Canadian families.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There have always been wars in the Middle East, but never before did those wars spill onto our streets here in Canada. But after 10 years of liberal immigration, liberal open borders, they have allowed criminals, terrorists, illegal guns to enter our country. After 10 years of liberal catch and release laws that the Prime Minister has not changed one word on, we have criminals released on our streets, and now our synagogues are being shot. Iranian dissidents killed on our streets, and there are 700 IRGC terrorist agents on our streets. What will the Prime Minister do to restore the safety that Canadians had before his Liberal government took office?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we got to go quick here. C-14 changes the bail laws. He might want to read it, definitely wants to support it. That member opposite has voted against every single gun control measure ever put before this House. This government has banned the Islamic Guard. This government's sanctioned over 200 individuals, over 200 Iranian entities. This government is investigating over 17,000 individual cases. We are protecting this country with 1,000 more RCMP, 1,000 more guards.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
What I voted against was a Liberal approach that has doubled gun crime by wasting billions going after duck hunters, farmers, and legal sports shooters. The Prime Minister is more worried about protecting turkeys from hunters than he is about protecting synagogues from terrorists, Mr. Speaker. That's the real problem. He's got 700 IRGC terrorists in this country. It doesn't matter if they're banned. If they're on our streets, they are a danger. They're shooting up synagogues, killing dissidents, and threatening our people. Will he reverse the Liberal agenda that unleashed this violence on our streets?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we, on this side of the House, we want to protect synagogues. We want to protect community centers. We want to protect places of worship, which is why C9 is before this House today. I challenge the member opposite to put his votes behind his words to protect the Jewish community, to protect communities of faith across this country.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, his solution to synagogues being shot up is to ban sections of the Jewish Torah. Mr. Speaker, that is not our solution on this side of the House. And that's according to his own immigration minister, his own heritage minister. We need to be safe at home. We need to be affordable at home. But even before this war broke out and raised gas prices, this Prime Minister doubled food price inflation and gave us the worst grocery price increases in all of the G7. So excuses about global impacts are not going to work. Will the Prime Minister reverse his new taxes on food, fuel, farmers, and fertilizer so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would suggest that the member opposite read the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which protects the Torah, which protects the Bible, which protects freedom of expression. This House should not be otherwise informed by possible misrepresentation. We should follow the true word that protects all Canadians.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was about food prices. This Prime Minister said he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Since he took office, food price inflation has doubled. And this Prime Minister has introduced new taxes that increase the fuel prices of the farmers that feed us. Now, 2.2 million people are lined up at food banks and faced with even worse fuel costs today. So will the Prime Minister, the Liberal Prime Minister, reverse his latest Liberal tax so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it feels like Groundhog Day. I'm once again required to remind the member opposite that the impact of the industrial carbon tax on fuel prices is approximately zero. The impact, though, of our trade deals on the farmers in his constituency is absolutely enormous. It is almost planting season, and the farmers of Alberta, Battle River, Crowfoot can plant canola.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, we have big news here in Parliament. Put on your Sunday best. If you look at the Prime Minister's circumnavigating the globe like Marco Polo, he seems to be his own Foreign Affairs Minister. Unfortunately, this minister is not being excessively clear. In fact, yesterday was an extraordinary opportunity for him to explain to Parliament, following his own invitation, what his own policies are. When will he explain his strategic vision for the Middle East? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Canada's policy is clear. Canada supports the necessity of preventing Iran's nuclear program and exporting of any terrorism. Canada is not participating in the offensive operations of Israel and the United States and will not, ever. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Offensive.
If it is clear, it will be news. Mr. Speaker, Canada is militarily a small player and in the middle tranche and is the most isolated, and apparently no one seems to understand Canada's position. Has he spoken to our allies in Europe, and what have they agreed to as to a common position? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I just had a conversation with Mr. Macron, the president of the G7. I had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Japan. A meeting, in fact. I had a conversation with the President of the United States. Those are three members of the G7. I'm the fourth. I will be having a meeting with Mr. Starmer, 5. And then, Madame Meloni, yes, we will find a common agreement among the G7 countries. We will do that. And we will have a de-escalation. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. I should have specified together with convergence, and I think we're going to make some major changes to geography for the U.S. to be part of Europe. Does the Prime Minister intend to propose any short-term measures to support those people who are directly suffering and will continue to further suffer from this war? I'm talking about inflation, buying power, retirees, access to property for young families. I'm referring, in fact, to all of these things that are not being solved or won't be solved in Norway over 5 years, but right now, right here, for citizens in Quebec and Canada. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, the best option is de-escalation, is to have peace. That is the reason why I have conversations with other members of the G7, members of the Middle East, like Qatar, Oman, the UAE, the Prime Minister of Lebanon. And fourth point, we need to use the G7's oil reserves.
Honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
Okay. Now we're going to take a look at oil prices as we listen to that. Okay, there we go. Still tonight, price of oil per barrel around tonight, $85.60 US. It had spiked to as much as 115. Now still hovering around $86. And that is generating a lot of concern about the short-term, medium-term, and potentially the long-term impact on not just the U.S. economy, but the Canadian economy, the world economy. And that is why so much attention is being focused on the Strait of Hormuz, where we're told mines are being laid. And as a result, efforts are being made by the United States to take out ships that are laying said mines. We have some footage here, I believe. With the United States claiming they have now taken out as many as 16 Iranian vessels suspected of or caught laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz today to try to control that shipping route. Here we go. CENTCOM releasing this footage. Footage also circulating tonight of underwater drones with range of approximately 600 kilometers that are being used by the Iranians to control the flow of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, where I believe it's about 20% of the world's oil supply is bottlenecked right now because shipping is down more than 90%. President Trump saying just yesterday, shipping companies need to toughen up, stop being so cowardly, and just ship through that route. The United States providing reinsurance, backup insurance, because insurance companies have made it clear that under the current conditions, shipping companies will not be covered if their vessels are targeted and hit by Iran, if they're severely damaged or even sunk. So the United States is reinsuring, backup insurance for those shipping companies in an effort to keep shipping moving. In fact, President Trump is being accused by some tonight of possibly manipulating markets on purpose with some of the statements he's making during these times. Of course, there's no way to know for sure if he or people around him might be benefiting from what he is saying, but you can see how just his words alone can swing the markets in ways that can erase or add billions of dollars in value instantly. And so yesterday, that's what I said, that when he was saying that the war is coming to a quick conclusion and it is pretty much complete, as he said, when he said that, the price of oil, which was up around 115 a barrel, came down to about 85 yesterday. Now it seems to have stabilized in that price range, but it's still substantially higher than it was just a short time ago, days ago, even just over a week ago, when it was around $40 a barrel. So it has, in some cases doubled in price. Oil futures off the charts. We haven't seen prices like this in a long time. The price at the pump when people are filling up already being affected, and that in turn is going to affect the prices of virtually everything on store shelves if this persists and Trump can't de-escalate, get a handle on this quickly. Because everything you have, everything that you buy comes by truck. And if it didn't come by truck to the truck that brought it to you, then it came by plane or ship or rail. But one way or another, they're burning gasoline and or diesel to bring you everything you buy, from soup to nuts, tires to tea, your food, your clothes, and your Chinese-made widgets, and plenty of those for sale in the US of A, where tonight Trump also saying on Truth Social that what he's doing in the Middle East, by blowing up these ships with the mines and by taking these actions against Iran as a gift to China. And he is saying that he hopes that it's something that will be appreciated, not just by China, but even by Russia. In fact, we've seen in recent days that Trump has actually lifted sanctions temporarily. He's relieved, at least for 30 days, sanctions on oil against Russia. So it's a temporary measure, or so we're told, but Russia has turned out to be one of the biggest winners in this conflict with Iran. Let's do a Truth Social scroll right now, shall we? Get a handle on what's going on with the president, because this, of course, is where he posts his most important messages. It's his platform. Something about safety domestically. And this posted today, America is returning to real energy dominance today. Can you see that on the screen? Just checking. Yes, there it is. He says, today I am proud to announce that America First Refining is opening the first new U.S. oil refinery in 50 years in Brownsville, Texas. This is a historic $300 billion deal, the biggest in U.S. history, a massive win for American workers, energy, and the great people of South Texas. Thank you to our partners in India and their largest privately held energy company, Reliance, for this tremendous investment. It is because of our America First agenda with India. I highlight that. Streamlining permits and lowering taxes that have attracted billions of dollars in deals coming back to our nation. A new refinery at the Port of Brownsville will fuel U.S. markets, strengthen our national security, boost American energy production, deliver billions of dollars in economic impact, and will be the cleanest refinery in the world. It will power global exports and bring thousands of long overdue jobs and growth to a region that deserves it. This is what American energy dominance looks like. America First, always with India. Just letting you know, if this was the other way around, I wonder if this was a project brought to America by, say, Democrats, would he maybe be criticizing it for saying too much foreign ownership? That's what's been going on with China, too. He gets his back up because of Chinese ownership of assets, including things like TikTok. But then in the end, he seems to cave. Tacos out, especially on these trade things. And it seems like a lot of what he does benefits China and benefits Russia. It's kind of odd. No question about it. This is benefiting Russia. And because he's lifting or temporarily easing the sanctions against Russia and its oil, that will also benefit other countries like India, like China, and it will potentially hurt Ukraine, which is supposed to be the ally of the United States. A very strange time, isn't it? It's hard to figure out whose loyalties lie where. Kind of weird. What else do we have here? America's healing and uniting together. And here you go. Drill, baby, drill. Let's just scroll back up. I have to tell you. Okay, here you go. I am pleased to report that within the last few hours, we have hit and completely destroyed 10 inactive mine-laying boats and our ships with more to follow. That was 3 hours ago. Also 3 hours ago, just before that, if Iran puts out any mines in the Hormuz Strait, and we have no reports of them doing so, but they do, obviously, he can't get his information straight. We want them removed immediately. If for any reason mines are placed and they are not removed forthwith, the military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen before. I don't know how much higher he can escalate. If, on the other hand, they remove what may have been placed, it will be a giant step in the right direction. Additionally, we are using the same technology and missile capabilities deployed against drug traffickers to permanently eliminate any boat or ship attempting to mine the Hormuz Strait. They will be dealt with quickly and violently. Beware, President Donald J. Trump. There are reports out there that there might be something of a rift developing between J.D. Vance and Trump on this, over this war in Iran. Now, also tonight, as a result of all of this stuff going on, Trump refers again to the Canadian Prime Minister as governor, this time not Trudeau, this time Mark Carney. And I don't know if this is I think this is the first time that he has used that word in reference to Mark Carney, Canada's new Prime Minister. But hey, why leave him out, right? That's set off alarm bells and triggered headlines and reports from mainstream media like CTV News in Canada.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump has taken aim at Prime Minister Mark Carney on social media again. On his social media, Donald Trump writing that he's working with Governor Gretchen Whitmer on trying to save the Great Lakes from the rather violent and destructive Asian carp, which is rapidly taking over Lake Michigan and all the beautiful surrounds. He says, quote, "I'll be asking other governors to join in this fight." And goes on to say, of course, the future governor of Canada, Mark Carney, who I know will be happy to contribute to this worthy cause.
Oops. Why would he do that? Just to piss people off, or maybe more. Maybe there's more to it than that. I suspect there is more to it. I think that it's strategic. He doesn't say those things by accident. It's not random. He keeps repeating it. He means it. And again, footage from outside the U.S. Consulate in Toronto, where U.S. service members, employees gathered after the attack. Respect, I guess. And that's earlier today, I guess, in Toronto. I don't know if this is real or if it's old. Let's go back to Toronto for this anyway. This is another clip that may be helpful to you tonight. from the news conference earlier today. I don't think this is a repeat, so let me just share it with you here.
Thank you, Deputy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Leather. I'm the RCMP Chief Superintendent for Criminal Operations here in Ontario. I'm going to make some formal remarks here, and then I look forward to questions that the media may have afterwards. Our community has experienced a deeply concerning incident, and I want to begin by acknowledging the worry and uncertainty many people are feeling today. Our thoughts are with everyone affected, as well as those who may be feeling unsettled by what has occurred. At this stage, I can confirm that the RCMP is working closely with the Toronto Police Service and our international partners who will assist us in a fulsome investigation into the shooting that took place overnight, early this morning, at the American Consulate behind us. The RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, INSET, GTA, has permanent positions for members of the Toronto Police Service, which further increase our capacity to conduct these investigations in real time with established and strong relationships, intelligence sharing, and tactics. At this time, the INSET team has been engaged, as this is a national security incident, and we are working with Toronto Police and others to understand the motivations of those involved. The RCMP regularly works in close collaboration with police services of jurisdictions across the country, as well as our partners with Global Affairs Canada in the fulfillment of our mandate to provide protection of designated persons, including foreign diplomats, and in relation to incidents that occur at or in the vicinity of embassies or consulates. For the moment, while the early stages of the investigation are taking place, we have increased security around embassies and consulate buildings here in Toronto and in the Ottawa region. There will be no tolerance for any form of intimidation, harassment, or harmful targeting of any communities or individuals in Canada. We want to assure that everyone's safety and security is at the forefront of everything that we do. The RCMP takes threats to security of individuals living in Canada very seriously and wants to reassure everyone that there is no indication of an immediate threat to public safety at this time. Thank you.
It is not clear how much support there is or may not be for the war in Iran. There's been some polling, but I'm not sure that it's conclusive. My gut is there isn't a lot of support. I think it's soft, especially among the MAGA base. Here's Senator Blumenthal after being briefed earlier today.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions have been unanswered, and I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy, actively and intensively, with intelligence and perhaps with other means, and China also may be assisting Iran. So the American people deserve to know much more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to our sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation and widening of this war a war of choice made by this president, not chosen by the American people, with potentially huge consequences to American lives.
And there are cracks continuing to form on the conservative side. Senator Ted Cruz, clip circulating from a conference on anti-Semitism where he goes after Tucker Carlson. And of course, the concerns about anti-Semitism stemming from these attacks on synagogues and against Jewish people, threats, not just in Canada, but in the United States as well. And Cruz has this to say.
In a college classroom, I'm a lot less certain. And it is being spread by loud voices, the most consequential of whom is Tucker Carlson. I believe Tucker Carlson is the single most dangerous demagogue in this country. And I'll tell you, I've made the decision that I'm going to take him on head directly. If you look at the dissent of Tucker Carlson, and they're all the sort of lesser chattering voices that are moons circling his twisted planet. But if you look at the dissent, it started about a year and a half ago with platforming crackpot professors seeking to rewrite history about World War II. So he has one idiot whom he describes as the most consequential popular historian in the country, who leans forward and intones that Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II. He then finds another crackpot professor who says there's a good argument that America should have sided with the Nazis in Germany in World War II. And for all of this, Tucker gazes adoringly. By the way, no, there is not. Winston Churchill was an extraordinary historical figure. There's a reason Churchill's bust is on my mantle. If you come to my office, on the mantle there are 3 busts, one of Churchill, one of Reagan, and one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 3 extraordinary leaders who had vision. But it's not just there, it then descends. Look, Nick Fuentes. It's actually interesting if you look at Republican politicians. Nick Fuentes is easy to denounce. And I actually think it's a tell among a Republican politician if they'll denounce Fuentes but are scared to say Tucker's name. That tells you a great deal. Nick Fuentes is a goose-stepping Nazi. And by the way, I'm not one who throws around the term Nazi loosely. But when Nick Fuentes says, Hitler was very, very cool, I like Hitler and I agree with Hitler. Like, when you say you agree with Hitler, you are a Nazi. Tucker has Fuentes on his show. Doesn't question him about any of the ridiculous things he said. Doesn't react at all when Fuentes tells him his mission is to combat global Jewry. And Tucker nods, interesting. Fuentes tells him every year he celebrates Stalin's birthday. By the way, what kind of freak even knows Stalin's birthday? I don't know it, and I don't care to know it. But Tucker just coos when he says that.
I don't know Stalin's birthday either. Senator John Thune, back to the war.
Trump and
and the cost.
What do you say to Americans who feel that that money could be better spent on other priorities? And do you have any update on the size of potential supplemental appropriations request from the White House?
The question was on the amount being spent in on the military. Okay.
Well, 900 million in a day is a significant number, but fortunately, a lot of us in anticipation of the need to upgrade our national security capabilities last summer as part of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act put significant increase in funding for defense. And so I think we are well positioned. If you listen to our military leadership, we get an opportunity on a regular basis to get briefed by General Kane and others. And I think we are in a good place in achieving an objective that frankly is long overdue. I mean, I think this is something that is generational in terms of its impact, and not only for that region, but for the entire world, because they continued, Iran, to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. They are on their way to a nuclear capability, and they're holding that entire region hostage, and American interests as well. So I think this was an important mission to accomplish, and hopefully it'll be accomplished soon. Thank you all.
Senator Brett, what's your concern?
December 18th, 1878. That's Joseph Stalin's birthday. Now you're a communist. Here's Professor Jeffrey Sachs with Piers Morgan saying the war on Iran is going to be a disaster, using the word Armageddon.
I see a calamity building and a lot of blood flowing. It's a kind of mass murder of civilians by Israel and the United States. This is shocking, actually. We should keep it in mind. This is not targeted bombing. This is carpet bombing Tehran. And I've been speaking on the phone with absolutely desperate people in Tehran in the last 48 hours, and it's carpet bombing. And they're killing indiscriminately. So this is a disaster that is not likely to go away. No one's claiming in Israel or the US that it's likely to go away. And the consequences for the world will be utterly awful. And Piers, we have a lot of Americans, we have a very particular society. We have a lot of Americans who are saying, move on. This is Armageddon coming. This is the promised end of the world. We are hearing lots of reports about this being preached in the military. We're seeing a lot of people who believe that the worse it gets, the closer we are to the second coming of Jesus Christ. And that's a motivating factor in the United States, I have to tell you. It's a significant part of Mr. Trump's base. And so bad news is not necessarily deterrence. It may just mean escalation to Armageddon. It is a grim situation that we're in. We've not seen anything like it, actually, since World War II. This is even beyond the Iraq War. They then had, I won't say the dignity, but they then had the impulse to hide the motivations. Here, there is no impulse to hide the motivations. It's just complete kill anybody and kill everybody and overturn this society of 100 million people and an ancient society of 5,000 years. So it's dreadful.
I do not know if the claim that there's carpet bombing going on, if that is accurate. I'm seeing casualty reports coming out of Iran, which suggest somewhere around 12 to 1,300 people have been killed so far. I don't know if that is accurate. Truth. Very elusive right now. No way to know for sure. We're seeing videos online, but that's not a clear indication of how much destruction and death there has been so far. Jeffrey Sachs, he's biased. He's got his slant. I would say he's very pro-Russian. And with that, we'll take a look over at RT. How's that? We'll try to give you the full perspective on this to get you closer to the truth tonight. Get all of us closer to the truth. Here's what RT is reporting. I lost my tab. It's up. I believe it's up. Yes, it is. But I can't find my tab. I believe that's it. Yes, it is. Okay, so Iran reveals civilian death toll and warns Trump of elimination. So this is this is our Russia carrying the Iranian response to all of the chest thumping coming from the White House and Pete Hegseth, the self-proclaimed master of the Department of War. Tehran's top security official has warned the U.S. president to be careful after threats to hit the Islamic Republic 20 times harder. Iran's top security official has dismissed U.S. President Donald Trump's threats after he vowed to strike Iran 20 times harder if it continues to threaten the strategic Strait of Hormuz. In retaliation for the U.S.-Israeli attacks, the strikes have killed at least 1,332 civilians. Now, I don't know if that would give you an indication that what we're getting here is carpet bombing, but certainly, as you can see from this video, there is damage being done to buildings. What building this is, I don't know. Maybe this could be an office building, could be a factory, could be an apartment complex. I don't know. This being released by Iran, this video. Iranian National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani branded Trump's threats empty. He wrote on Telegram, even those greater than you could not eliminate the Iranian nation. Be careful not to be eliminated. So they're threatening to take out Donald Trump, which we've seen in the past too. I think that honestly might be one of the main motivating factors here for Donald Trump, because he got off the plane right after the initial wave of attacks, got off Air Force One, and he said, I got him before they got me, as you may recall. And we know that Iran had painted a target on Trump a long time ago. Some people speculating that maybe some of the assassination attempts, unsuccessful in the United States, might have been in some way attacks that involved Iran. Nothing conclusive there, though. Putin held a phone call with Trump yesterday, says the escalating conflict risks entirely choking off the region's oil exports through the now de facto closed Strait of Hormuz, according to RT. RT has assessed the impact of $100 oil and the subsequent rise in Urals oil for Russia. The price of Russian Urals oil has surged to a premium over Brent, which peaked at over $120 on Monday. Trump has dismissed the spike as a very small price to pay for the war against Iran. And they're highlighting that attack on the girls' school, which, of course, the United States is being accused of being responsible for. Multiple media outlets, it says here, have concluded from available footage that the school was hit by a U.S. Tomahawk missile. Trump has dismissed the reports, insisting that Tehran is to blame. He's even come out to say that Iran possesses Tomahawk missiles. He says Tomahawks have been sold to multiple countries. I don't see why they would ever sell Tomahawk missiles to Iran, or how they would even acquire that weapon. It seems very odd to me that if that were to be the case, or if it turns out to be the case, my question would be, why the hell are you selling Tomahawks to Iran when you're denying them to Ukraine? It makes no sense whatsoever. And yet there's Trump asserting that Iran has them, as he's trying to explain away the attack on that girls' school inside Iran that left at least 168 people dead. And the concerns about the sleeper cells ramping up and being amplified and focused by who else? This guy here.
Trump admin sends alert to law enforcement warning Iran sent encrypted message to trigger their sleeper cells. Iran has sleeper cells. It's a real threat. We're a few weeks into this. Trump's saying, I'm going to obliterate you. I may destroy your whole country no matter what. Israel's talking about using nukes on them. That's when the mullahs would give this order. So when I look at this and ask, is this a false flag? See how this works? That's why this is going to be so hard to tell if it happens. A very good chance it is. Because it's going to piss America off and to be more pro-war. And it's going to piss Trump off if this happens. So if Israel and the neocons, if they think they're losing and that this war they've wanted forever is about to fail, and Trump's about to declare victory and pull back from this disaster, they can obviously have their own globalist operatives and cells ready to carry out massive terror attacks. And they'll conveniently leave, the Iranian passports and all the evidence all around. If it's a real Iranian attack, and the go code has been sent out to all of them to attack, they've already got protocols of how long they have to launch an attack. So you'll have a go code, and usually it's built in saying, you were ordered within 3 days of this message to launch attacks. And there'll probably be more codes coordinating when they specifically want it to start. Or they may just say fire at will. Probably, though, they're going to have a start date. Obviously, the go code came in yesterday, if you believe the intelligence. And I don't know, because we don't have enough information yet, because everything fits both scenarios. The globalists need this right now. This is exactly what the mullahs would do at this point, as I've been warning. So I'm going to tell you, I don't know yet. But regardless, it's bad. The Israelis, who are famous for staging false flags, criminal elements in our own government, multinational contractor groups hired by consortiums, could just as easily stage the attacks as a pretext to get Trump to get back in the war and not start putting the brakes on it. Right now, I have the information in front of me, and there's so many data points, I can't tell you what I think is going to happen, because the Iranian sleeper cells are real. This is the time they would launch them, and Trump's saying he's going to pull back now because of the economy and because he knows that his majority of his advisors were actually right. And this sleeper cell thing, if it is real, Trump's like, oh, really? Yeah, did you think about that? So we're being told by the White House that the go code to launch sleeper cell attacks has gone out. And if that's true, then we're going to see some real fireworks.
I think we're going to see some real fireworks. Regardless, we've already seen some real fireworks, or maybe more to the point, we haven't seen a lot of real fireworks. Depends on your perspective or what you believe. Tucker Carlson in the camp that is saying there's a lot more damage being done to the United States than we're being told. I don't believe it. I think that there has been a fairly accurate representation of the damage inflicted upon the United States and the casualty levels. We're seeing now, I believe it is 8 U.S. service members seriously injured. I think they're up to about 100 with minor or other kinds of injuries, but at least 8 now seriously injured. And I think we're still at, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 deceased, or is it 7? Are we up to, I think we might be to 7 U.S. service members who have been killed now. I think a 7th came in overnight. Tucker Carlson, though, he interviewed Colonel McGregor, who I reposted what McGregor said, Douglas McGregor, about all U.S. military bases have been destroyed. He said, all the U.S. military bases have been destroyed. I said, how can that be? I don't believe that. I put it up on our Twitter scroll, and I don't believe it. In fact, it can't be true what he said a couple of days ago, because there's still operations going on in those locations. And yet here's Tucker Carlson tonight, still kind of, echoing elements of what Colonel McGregor said.
In Iran that began a little over a week ago, and so much is happening, and it's not exactly clear how it's all connected. All of a sudden you read that Israel is occupying parts of southern Lebanon, killed a priest last night. Really? What is that? Is that true? You read that there are power outages in Bangladesh. Bangladesh? Yes. Asia is suffering. The world is suffering due to the choke point of Hormuz, the Straits of Hormuz, that are closed or semi-closed by Iran and have been since this began. And that's causing massive downstream effects in markets, in manufacturing, in the global economy. How long is that going to last? What's the end game there? And then, of course, the war itself, which is playing out in Iran and Israel and throughout the Arab world, really, primarily in the Gulf states, but not just the Gulf states. What's the damage? Well, the truth is, in a lot of cases, we don't really know, because the censorship of this war on social media, and of course, the big mainstream outlets are censored, always have been. But the promise of social media was you could get unmitigated information. You could get videos live from the scene. And now suddenly you can't. That lasted about 24 hours before the clampdown. And in part, that was by governments of the Gulf states. They don't want physical destruction of their countries broadcast to the world. The government of Israel has clamped down completely. They don't want videos of Tel Aviv or Haifa burning. You can, in fact, in some of these countries, go to jail for posting that stuff online. But it's not just the governments of those countries that are imposing censorship. It's the social media companies here that are imposing censorship on the American people who are paying for all of this. So they can't know. And then there does seem to be a kind of censorship practiced by the U.S. government around casualties and deaths. How many people have died so far in this conflict? How many have been injured? Where and under what circumstances? Now, these are sensitive questions in any conflict. And of course, you don't in any way want to degrade the effectiveness of the U.S. military. You don't want to dispirit the troops whom we are rooting for sincerely, always and everywhere, rooting for Americans in whatever theater, in whatever war. It wasn't of their choosing. In some cases, they are just the people who suffer first and most due to the decisions of politicians. So we're always on their side, and you don't want to make things worse for them. On the other hand, Americans do have, on a fundamental level, a right to know the effects of this war on their countrymen. If Americans are killed, we have a right to know that. And yet there's some indication that we really don't. So as you try to figure out what's going on, keep in mind you can't really get the full picture because the clampdown on information. And so in the conversation that we're about to have, we're going to go through what we think we know. In some cases, we might be wrong. Just want to be honest about that up front. Very hard to know what the truth is at this stage, really at any stage, but particularly in the face of this kind of censorship. But we're going to try to be as honest as we possibly can.
Right. Yeah. He's throwing information out there and saying things with a qualifying statement, but he's clearly putting things out there to make you think that it's true. And the information that I have, which I just conveyed to you, and I'm just checking here now, appears to be the most accurate information so far, that 7 American service members have been killed so far in the Iran war. That's the official count from the Pentagon, U.S. Central Command, and that is being widely reported. It is not being kept secret. I would say the United States, not Trump. He makes stuff up. He lies all the time. Hegseth lies. Wouldn't trust anything coming out of their mouths. But if you go below that and you start getting the information from the Pentagon, from CENTCOM, from other sources within the U.S. government, from the bureaucrats even, right? The people who actually produce the reports after compiling actual data, I think there is credibility there. I don't trust anything coming from Iran directly. They'll fabricate stuff. They make stuff up. They lie. You're in the fog of war. That's why Trump is saying what he's saying about the girls' school. He doesn't want to demoralize the troops. He doesn't want people to become dispirited at home on the home front. So he says, no, Iran did it. He's just saying that. He's not going to accept any responsibility for it at this point, because to him, that would be a PR blow, public relations blow to the war effort. So don't expect a lot of truth to come from the lips of President Trump, especially when he is being accused potentially of manipulating markets by saying what he's saying. And yes, there is a lot of money to be made there if you know what the president is going to say about any given thing at any given time, especially during a time of war when the flow of oil is being disrupted. Now, we know that 6 Army reservists were killed in an Iranian drone strike at that U.S. military facility in Kuwait. That was around March 1st. And then the 7th fatality, is an Army soldier who has been identified in reports as Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington, died from injuries sustained in an Iranian attack on a base in Saudi Arabia. And his death was announced March 8th, I believe. Although I'm not sure. I don't think I got that information until late yesterday. So maybe it came out earlier, but I personally didn't see that update until later yesterday. All 7 deaths directly linked to Iranian retaliatory strikes in the opening days of the war. Trump, Hegseth, attended that dignified transfer ceremony for the remains coming home. We brought you that. That wasn't hidden, although I have to say, Fox News held to account for running recycled video where Trump didn't have that white USA MAGA hat on, which is his own merch. He's being mocked and criticized for wearing that trucker cap, baseball cap. It's a trucker hat at that ceremony. Some seeing that as a sign of disrespect. It's political. You can make your own assessment. No civilians reported killed, no American civilians killed at this point. Injuries, as I said, over 100. In fact, just the information that I'm just skimming off now, 140 U.S. service members wounded, 8 severely, as I indicated already, most minor, though, with over 100 returned to duty after being injured. So again, minor injuries, returned to duty already. And that also is information coming from the Pentagon. I don't get the sense that they're hiding all that much. I think that's fairly credible. Now, they're going to spin some things. Of course, it is a war, and the public relations machine is in full gear, make no mistake. So, yes, there could be some refinement to some of this information down the road. Some sources list up to 9 U.S. military deaths, but that appears to include at least 1 non-combat health-related incident, not counted in the official Pentagon CENTCOM casualty figures. Other mainstream reporting and U.S. military statements uniformly cite just 7 killed in action. I shouldn't say just. That's 7 too many, obviously. And Iranian claims of hundreds of U.S. deaths are unverified. We had some that wanted to come on the program last night and talk about this because they are convinced that the casualties and the damage much more widespread, much more severe against the United States. And that is certainly the kind of information that Colonel McGregor is trying to spin up. Not only was that something that I shared with people to say, how does this guy have any credibility left after making a claim like this, saying that every U.S. military base in the Middle East has now been destroyed by Iran? It's clearly not true. And yet I've seen even politicians say, well, I saw Maxime Bernier share that, but he shared it and asked the question. He said, time will tell. Because he too is questioning the accuracy of such a statement, and yet people still follow him and Carlson. If you can't figure out what the heck is going on over there, then I can't help you too much. I can lay it out and spell it out, I guess, but I think the actual truth is that you're getting a lot of spin from all sides. That's why today we've had these hearings up in Ottawa on the CBC, with the CBC being held to account, questioned about especially human resources issues and some budget things, editorial things, bias, because there are some people who are questioning, public funding of the CBC and whether taxpayers are getting their bang for their buck in Canada. But I'll tell you this, the hearings today involving some disgruntled employees who were brought forward sort of as whistleblowers of sort, that's being used as a golden opportunity by especially independent media outlets that are highly critical of the CBC, and in at least one case, an outlet that is trying to position itself as an organization that is ready to take over for the CBC. I know they've even ramped up a campaign over at Juno News in that way. But anyway, here's a little clip from today's proceeding.
During your time, or do you have knowledge of the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, ever talking to the CBC with regard to how a news angle should be covered or taken, or content that should be reported on?
I know concerns were raised. I know concerns were raised from people that were on Power and Politics. I have documentation related to those concerns being raised. And I know that the folks that raise these concerns, they're fearful of, exactly the same thing that all of these other folks are fearful of, right? Professional reprisal. But I also know that this was raised repeatedly. And whether or not there was influence from the former Prime Minister's office in terms of editorial decisions that were being made on Power and Politics or not, even the allegation of that on its face needs to be investigated. And from my understanding, and CBC can put out a statement correcting me if I'm wrong on this, I don't think that there was ever an investigation. That is a serious concern, right? I mean, if there are repeated, allegations made about perhaps there's too much influence here. Now, let me just say this as well. I was a reporter in Ottawa. I've been at Queen's Park. I was the Queen's Park bureau chief for Global. Reporters have sources. We all know that. But there's a line where that leads into editorial decision-making, and you have to make sure that that is clear. And if there's even an allegation that may have been crossed, you have to look deeper.
I guess to that end then, we know that public trust toward the media in general is on the decline. We know that that is true with the CBC. There's no exception there. In your mind then, is that lack of trust justified?
I think that right now, the CBC, by continuing to put out statements and to come to these committees and say, yeah, we might have a little bit of a problem, but, overall, we're not biased. That's gaslighting Canadians. Canadians can see that this is an issue, right? And this is folks have accused me of coming here being a cheerleader for the Conservatives. I am not a cheerleader for the Conservatives. I'm sorry. I'm not a cheerleader for the Liberals either. I was trying to do my job as a journalist, and part of that is being balanced. And so when you have, when I was pulled into these disciplinary meetings, I was told that it was editorializing because I put that Catherine Tate wouldn't come on the program, and it's unfortunate. This is unfortunate, was editorializing, right? And it was perceived bias. There's a lot of perceived bias going on that I don't see any discipline around. So I think CBC needs to have, a wake-up call here in terms of accountability. And really, that's incumbent upon this committee. I have made recommendations. There are 11 recommendations in terms of how to, move some of this forward. When it came to Mr. Cochrane, this is during the convoy, for example. We were talking about Tamara Litch, who was an individual who was involved in the convoy. We were doing a story around that. And off-the-hand remarks can be made at times. And I said, I think that she has a couple of different last names. People who live in trailers usually do. Okay, off-color remark, but if this is a pattern, right, you have to, if your staff on your own show are raising this, if people are leaving the program, you have to look a little bit deeper into it, as opposed to pulling me off the air for saying it's unfortunate the president didn't come on the show.
So the Canadian public is paying for this to the tune of about $1.4 billion. And then, of course, the government also increased that by an additional $150 million. At the end of the day, then, the public is the shareholder and also the ones that are supposed to be benefiting from this news coverage. In your estimation, what changes are needed to actually restore that trust?
Well, I think that there needs to be an overhaul when it comes to management. You have my specific recommendations, but I will also say this. I am not here as somebody who does not believe in public broadcasting. I was on Jonavision. I started as an audience coordinator when I was 19 years old at the CBC. I worked on the Air Farce. I worked on the Red Green Show. I then left. I came back. I worked at CBC Edmonton. I worked at CBC Toronto. Left. Came back again. I took a pay cut to come back to the CBC. I used to walk around the CBC Broadcast Center when I was 19 years old and sneak into the newsroom, and I thought, I want to be at this place at some point. This is the heart of this building, the news organization. And it has gotten so far away from what it was. The CBC should not be a polarizing force. It needs to bring Canadians together, and it has the infrastructure to be able to do that. But until there's a recognition of the problem from management, nothing will happen. And they fail to recognize this. I would be willing to sit down tomorrow with the new president to talk about some of this stuff, right? But good people are leaving, they're being forced out, and their concerns are being dismissed because it's about protecting reputation. Well, here's some news. I don't have to be wanting to destroy the CBC because management and executives are doing a great job of that on their own.
Thank
Yeah, no question. CBC has a bias, a slant. They come at things with a particular worldview, a particular Canadian view, not a Canadian view, a particular Canadian view. No question about it. They always have. They've always been more to the left, more socialist, at least in my lifetime. I think it has become more pronounced, especially over the last decade. I have friends who work there, and the bias is very evident. And because of today's hearing, the National Post highlighting that, other media highlighting the testimony that came out of it today, and CBC does have a trust issue with a big cross section of the Canadian population, and I just speak to that as a journalist, someone who I've never worked for the CBC, although I've done business with the CBC, but I always found them great to work with through my marketing company after I left journalism for a while. But they've got some work to do over there for sure. So hopefully they can get to it, and hopefully today's hearing helped in that regard. I have to say, though, I don't know that all of the attacks being leveled at CBC or even at the government itself is constructive or productive or positive or even meant to be positive in any way. It's politics. It's a blood sport, and it's getting nasty out there. We'll come back. We'll have more on that as we progress toward the most important part of the program, which comes at the tail end. So stick with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Reports today, too, that the new leader, the son of the assassinated Ayatollah Khamenei, was killed today. Actually, there were reports that he was injured severely, then died later. Other reports saying he was injured in an attack, but without the allegation or the report that he later passed away. And there are reports out there that none of that is true. I'm not seeing any kind of confirmation coming through of him being killed at this point. So I'm saying it's highly likely that all of that is fake. One thing is certain, this thing is not over yet, even though Trump yesterday said that it is coming to a quick conclusion. It is pretty much wrapped up. But now we're seeing that Iran is trying to lay mines. Trump is, well, the U.S. military is attacking these mostly static boats that they're saying are boats that would be used to lay these mines in the Strait of Hormuz. If those mines are deployed, you have a much more serious problem on your hands with regard to getting oil tankers to navigate through the strait. Oil prices still up around $85. What happens with those prices will depend greatly now on what happens over the next few days. And Trump, his credibility is riding on the line at this point too, because he's making these claims. Oh, it's going to be over, at any time. It reminds me of the time when Bush landed on the ship and they put up a banner behind him saying mission accomplished, and the war wasn't over. But that's the way it appeared from kind of what that news event on board. I can't remember what ship it was now, but I don't think this is over. I don't think it's coming to a quicker conclusion. I think that the truth is, from everything we're seeing here tonight, my personal assessment is that the truth is somewhere in the middle, and it's probably just about dead smack in the middle. The U.S. has probably suffered more losses. Maybe, I don't think deaths or casualties, but probably, in terms of materiel, probably they've suffered more than they're letting on. You probably have a situation where Iran still has more weapons than the U.S. wants, or that Trump wants us to believe. And I don't think that the plan is going quite the way that they had hoped, because you have the government still in place. I think that they were hoping they could just wipe out the top leadership and that they would then get something in to replace it, and they would destabilize things enough that they would be able to then finesse a change in regime. But that has not happened. There is still stability. The government still appears to be in control at this point. So didn't work. You've now got, they're working on plan B, which is, I think, probably to target the new leader and take that guy out. And all of this, but I don't think they've done it yet because we don't have verification. And I can pretty much guarantee you, if they had taken out the new leader, you'd be hearing about it all over U.S. media. That would be Trump beating his chest like any good Godzilla would. So, yeah, it hasn't happened. I can pretty much guarantee all of that. But the claims that we're hearing from McGregor and Tucker Carlson, no, the United States has not been devastated, not even close. They still have a ton of firepower left and lots of legs, but it is costing a ton of money to operate this war, to service it every single day. I don't know if it's sustainable. It's so expensive. The bombs, the ships, the planes. My God, the expense. And you're up against a military that's using drones worth thousands, and everything that they're using on the US side is super high tech and super duper expensive. Two completely different approaches to warfare. And for a while, yeah, you can dominate, but at what cost, and how long can the economy last? And Trump has been lying about the economy. The numbers really show. And this is why you talk about the economy in a scenario like this, where you have a war, because it takes money to make the wheels of war go round. And on the home front, those job numbers that he keeps quoting, they're made up. The real numbers show that the U.S. is actually has not been generating new jobs, and is actually been losing ground on jobs. They've lost jobs. Inflation is real. Prices are rising. This is seriously going to add to the inflation unless he backs off to get that Strait of Hormuz open. Iran saying yesterday that if any country expels U.S. and Israeli officials from their country, then they will be given safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. They'll be given immunity from any kind of attack. So there's that. That doesn't sound like the kind of rhetoric that would be coming from a regime that is ready to give up. They are ruthless, they are brutal, they are dictatorial in Iran, and they are determined. You can see that, and they have layers of bureaucracy, layers of secession built into their system to withstand these kinds of attacks, so that their political system and their system of control remains intact, even when under this level of stress. That's why it's not ending. Not yet. We'll see where it goes. I can't predict. I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. I don't think Donald Trump knows. I think the one thing that I think is clear is, yeah, he definitely wanted to take out the leadership. I think that's mission accomplished. I think maybe he's actually accomplished the mission. I don't know that he's looking to make Iran stable. I think he's looking for ways to score points geopolitically with all these other countries in one way or another, especially China and Russia. I don't think he gives a damn about Europe. He's at odds with Starmer in the UK. He's confronting, and he's at odds with Carney in Canada, because he wants to take over Canada as the 51st state. He wants to just be peaceful with Russia and China because they're adversaries. They represent a threat to him. And where Iran is concerned, that represented something of an ultimate threat because they've threatened to assassinate him in the past. So yeah, they're absolutely an enemy of Donald Trump. That's why he's gone after them and he's taken them out. Now he's probably just sitting back, in my assessment at this point, and he's saying, okay, now what? I did what I really wanted to do. I killed all those guys. They were a big threat to me personally and to the United States, but to me personally as the president. But I got that guy first. And I don't really think he cares if Iran descends into chaos. I think that's that's baked into his plan, which isn't really a plan. It just looks to me, it's like bomb them, just bomb the crap out of them. And then come whatever happens. And I don't think he cares. It's just level the place. Just bomb the crap out of them until they're submissive. And then I don't think he cares. That's my assessment. I think it's just that simple. And that's why people are confused, because usually you have an end goal. I think his end goal is already there. Create chaos. Oh, the other thing is he does need to stabilize trade. the oil trade. See, he doesn't care if Iran is able to produce oil. He doesn't want them to have nuclear weapons for sure, because that would give them too much leverage. So he definitely wants to shut that stuff down. But he doesn't care if Iran produces oil. And if he can seize it, if he can take it, he'll do that. And he's getting direction from, and I'm getting some of the correspondence myself to see kind of what's going on in those back channels that is not like out in the public. Like, you can find it out there, but it's not the stuff that's being reported at all. He's getting advice from not the established administration around him. It's the MAGA shadow government that's still feeding him advice and guidance. And he owes some of those people politically. So he'll take some of that advice. And as a result, he may go in and seize that oil, because that's one of the objectives or the things that he's being advised on. I saw correspondence today that I know was sent to him. That was sent to me, not just to me, but it's not like it's top secret. It's out in the public if you go looking for it, or if you know who to look for. But it was sent to Trump, advising him to put boots on the ground in strategic areas to secure oil supplies, to protect the oil, so that the U.S. can seize it. I think you're going to see it. You're going to see boots on the ground. He's been lying the whole time. Maybe on a limited scale, but yeah, he'll seize the oil, go into certain areas. I think that's what's coming. Will Canada join? I doubt it. I doubt it only if Canada is in some way attacked. If Canada is attacked, I think you'll see probably 50-50 at that point, maybe 70-30 in favor of Canada then becoming involved. But then it can be a defensive move, you see. So Carney won't have lied. He'll say, yes, that's right, we're not participating in any U.S. or Israeli offensive actions. But if it's defensive, we will become involved. Potentially. He's not saying that. He says won't ever become involved in offensive operations. Again, it's in the wording. The conservatives are all over it saying, what do you mean? That's contradictory. It doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. If you really know how to listen to it, it's politics. Nothing is black and white. Some things get twisted sideways. It's a word salad. It's meant to be ambiguous. And that's because we saw, again today, the pressure being applied against Canada, directed at Carney, calling him the governor, the future governor. That's an insult. That's disrespectful. It's meant to be. It's meant to undermine trust and confidence in the government itself by saying, look, I can insult your prime minister and he won't say anything back because I'm so powerful. I can insult your prime minister. I can be disrespectful. I can treat him like a dirty dog. And nobody even says a word because I'm Godzilla. That's the message. Carney, though, playing it cool at this point. Gotta say, I feel for him. I feel for anybody in that position. Conservatives in a position of easy attack, as we saw in the House of Commons last night and during question period today. Couldn't go after the prime minister during the debate last night, but certainly did during question period. Tried to hold his feet to the fire. And if it's not them, it's the online social media influencers, which honestly, I'm a little bit tired of, because it's descended, it's deteriorated, it's degraded into anti-Canadian rhetoric, honestly, a lot of these people who are clearly in many cases being paid. I won't make specific allegations in that regard, but one thing did come up in my feed that in just the last day that really, again, it made me raise at least one eyebrow and question, what the hell, where is this person's loyalty really? Because it seems very anti-Canadian, not just anti-liberal. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this is going to segue into our most important part of the conversation tonight. Let me see if I can find this. Where did you go? I've got her. Hang on. Here she is. Miss America. I shouldn't do that. Can't resist. Sorry. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. She's so popular. So hard done by. I don't think she got her dream wedding because she had to make such sacrifices. This post. CBC says here. CBC says it's just the reality of the modern world that the PM has to spend a huge amount of time abroad making deals. And you saw this criticism coming from the bloc in the House today during question period. Fine, sort of. But this goes on. And she says, Jasmine Lane. But that raises a pretty obvious question. If Canada is really the energy superpower the government keeps bragging about, why are we the ones constantly flying around trying to convince people to work with us? And she continues. Historically, when a country has something the world actually needs, leaders come to them. So either Canada has the leverage or someone is spinning a story that doesn't quite add up. Sorry. This is a stretch. And this is anti-Canadian rhetoric. It's not just directed at Mark Carney and the Liberals. This is directed at the country. This is crapping on Canada. If Canada is an energy superpower, how come we have to go and sell it? That's what Carney's been doing. He's been traveling around the world promoting and selling Canada in the face of these tariffs, the tariff war coming from the United States, the threats against our country, the 51st state rhetoric. What the hell do you expect him to do? He's doing his damn job. And I would expect that of any politician who becomes prime minister, regardless of their political stripe. That's their damn job. That's the best thing to be doing right now, because that's about protecting jobs. I find it gross. That's not being conservative. That's just being a Canadian crapper. It's just being destructive. It's just disrespectful. I thought, I'm not gonna play what she said. You can go find it if you want. It's not helpful to the country. If you want Canada to become the 51st state, that's exactly the kind of crap that you spew. Because that undermines confidence in our nation. Canada is an energy powerhouse. We do have the resources. We can harness those resources. We are. More than that, we have a lot of other things to offer too. Minerals, technology, nuclear reactors for power, not for bombs, can-do reactors, modular reactors, all kinds of resources and all kinds of brain power. In many respects, the Canadian economy is more stable than what you have in the United States. And what's going on down in the United States, it's exposing a lot of fragility in their economy. This is happening because the United States is in trouble. And because Donald Trump is a very destructive force and a very corrupt man. Canada's doing what it has to do right now. I've been thinking, all of this stuff makes me think a lot. What that post made me really think things through a lot. I'm not here to pick a fight with a young girl who lacks wisdom. But I am trying to make a difference. And it made me think back to my youth and the play Death of a Salesman. Strangely, I've been thinking about it for weeks. as it relates to the U.S., because that play by Arthur Miller, which I read in high school, is a critique of America. And just the circumstances surrounding it and surrounding Arthur Miller, the playwright. There's irony in there too, because Arthur Miller, viewed by many as being, in his time, a communist or a communist sympathizer, McCarthy era. Play was written, I think, in 1948. And so that whole thing is a critique of America, capitalism, the American dream. It's a tragedy, is what the story is. Focuses on a salesman. His name's Willie Loman. And his pursuit of the American dream through a career in sales deteriorates, degrades, descends, evaporates into a story of tragedy as his family falls apart. And in the end, he ends up committing suicide if you don't know the story. Very depressing. Thought a lot about it, because there's Mark Carney doing what the prime minister is supposed to be doing. He's flying around the country selling Canada. Of course you have to sell it. Doesn't matter how much you have. And if you want to bring prosperity home, especially in the face of an attack by your best friend, then you pivot and you get to work and you roll up your sleeves and you do what you got to do to go make new deals. But the Canadian way of making deals is different than the way that Donald Trump does deals, because Donald Trump has nuclear weapons, F-35s, aircraft carriers, armadas, sanctions, military power. See, Donald Trump can play the role of the gangster. He can say, be real terrible if something happened to your country. Better let us open up this market, or we'll have to sanction you to death. Yeah. But, you know, if you're a salesman, like a true salesman, you don't show up on somebody's doorstep and threaten them in order to get them to buy something. You go shake a hand, you go for lunch, you make your pitch, you show how you can help. You make a friend, you establish a relationship, you plant seeds, and you let those relationships grow into sales. Thought a lot about this, and that made me think about my dad. My dad was a salesman. I've told you this. Sold Verner's ginger ale for a while, driving a pop truck and selling soda. And then he got a job after I was born, even before I was born, selling chewing gum and candy. It was a good job, big company, selling all the chewing gum that you would buy, like the department stores and the grocery stores, all that impulse stuff, all the junk that you buy right at the cash register, right? Chiclets, Dentine. Good products. That was his life. He was a salesman. And man, I watch him go to work every day, and he'd always be dressed in his tie, suit and a tie. Took him taking pride in his work, like all the people who worked there. But he had his territory in our hometown and beyond. Large territory and tough job, man, selling. And when I saw that post from Jasmine Lane, I thought, you are so disrespectful. You just do not get it at all. Made me think of my dad. Made me think of all the other salespeople out there doing their gigs, making the country work every day, doing their job so other people can do theirs. All part of a team, right? In the face of adversity, coming together when we need people to come together. That's what salespeople do every day. And they deal with a lot of crap. They put up with crap from people. I don't want any. Get off my doorstep or I'll call the cops. Right? It's not just door-to-door sales, though. Sales comes in many flavors, whether you're a car salesman or you're selling shoes at a shoe store, or selling confectionery, candy, chewing gum, or a country. My dad's 94. He has some stories to tell. And he's had something downstairs that I wanted to share with all of you. I found it all these years later when I was there taking care of him after his recent hip operation, and I remembered it sitting there, and I'd found it when I was staying up there for a while. I was there about 3 months, right? And so I wanted to share this thing that I found at the house, my parents' house, while I was there with you guys tonight, but he had to be involved. So I called him up and I said, Dad, you gotta do me a favor. And yeah, I need you to go get this thing that I found downstairs. And this is a recording that I did with my dad earlier today. I couldn't think of what it was. It's a eulogy is what it is to salespeople. It's and in this he'll tell you, I say, like, who wrote this thing, because it's this thing. I'll tell you what it is. It's a eulogy to salespeople, and it's not written on it where it came from or who wrote it. So I did some research after I did the interview with my dad today, and the thing that we're going to be referring to in this interview is called he calls it The Salesman. I think that's what I always thought it was called too, but it's actually something called, in many usually an ode to the salesman. And it praises the skill, resilience, true value of a great salesperson, arguing that calling someone a salesman is not an insult, as Jasmine Lane might think of a salesperson, at least in the context of Mark Carney going out to sell the country. It's actually a high compliment, not an insult at all. And it's something that has been used for a long time, I guess, in motivational courses, sales courses, trying to teach sales ethics, not just sales techniques. But apparently this is most commonly attributed to somebody by the name of Don Benenson, who wrote this as a letter to sales legend Zig Ziglar. Ziglar popularized it by including it or referencing it in books and speeches that he produced and materials. And he was sort of a motivational coach for salespeople and a best-selling author. His philosophy is one of the most influential in modern sales training. He blended motivational psychology, ethical principles, and practical techniques. Passed away in 2012. I looked it up today. Legendary salesman turned speaker and author. Wrote books that included Secrets of Closing the Sale and See You at the Top, and emphasized that true selling, not the Donald Trump kind of selling, true selling is about service, relationships, and helping others. I've always believed that. I kind of bring some of that here with me every night too. I'm here to help others, to help you help others, to make a difference, to make a positive difference, not just to sit here and crap on people and find fault in everything. I understand politics is a blood sport, but my God, when the fate of the country is at stake, can you please, just for a moment, maybe just give it a little bit of a rest and help out? Do you have to crap on the country? I'm tired of it. Just whatever it is, going to be negative about it. I want whoever the prime minister is to be successful, to make the country better. If you're a journalist, can you at least be unbiased enough to acknowledge that or to take that position? We want success for the country so that the people succeed, so that my garbage gets picked up on Tuesdays efficiently, so that people have jobs, so that people have the kinds of services the government is supposed to be offering, so that kids have lunch, dinner, food in their belly when they go to bed at night, so there's enough prosperity to go around, so that we have a stable society. Like, give it a freaking rest. I'm serious. Give it a rest. Criticize the politics, but stop crapping on the country. Stop being negative about everything. You get somebody with blonde hair, an attitude, and a financial incentive, and it's a bad combo. Dangerous, in fact, when it's amplified and focused with algorithms and a budget. The lies that are out there, the spin, it's disgusting. The crap that's just circulating about everything right now, it's no wonder there's so much mental illness. Fear. Core principles of Zig Ziglar's sales philosophy, which you might, take to heart and just use some of these things in your everyday life. Help others first. That's number one. He had a famous line. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. That's coming from a slimy salesperson. You do it right, and you'll have a customer for life because they'll keep coming back because it's a good deal. You show up and punch somebody in the face and force them to bend the knee, capitulate, to buy all your shit. Well, you have to give your stuff to them for free, like a bridge. You might find that they pivot and jet off to some other place and start trying to do business elsewhere where they can eat because it's a fair deal. Principle 2, stop selling, start helping. It's basically the same as Principle 1. He said, Ziegler believed the old school pushy salesperson repels people. Instead, act as a consultant or advisor, uncover needs, listen deeply, and position your product service as the solution to their pain points or goals. And belief is essential. You had a triad of beliefs: faith in your product, confidence in yourself. He said, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. And trust in your customer. But I don't think that Zig Ziglar had the philosophy of punch your customer in the face until they buy your shit. He says sales are emotional, not logical. That's obvious on the surface anyway. He says people don't buy for logical reasons. They buy for emotional reasons. Of course they do. Chewing gum is all about that. It's impulse. I want that spearmint gum. And I want it now. It's only $1 at the checkout. And he said every sale faces no need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. The salesperson's job is to help the prospect overcome these through questions, value, demonstration, and building rapport. That's the sales job. That's what Carney's doing. I would like to see other politicians go out and sell the country, not go down to Mar-a-Lago like Jamil Giovanni and come back with a propaganda message saying President Trump loves you. He loves Canadians. He loves Canadians. He loves you. No, he doesn't. He just punched us in the face. Positive attitude and goal setting, that's core principle number 6. He said, your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Peace through friendship. Strength through peace. I guess these things were built into me because I guess my dad must have gone through this training, because this is all the stuff that he brought to bear in his career as a salesperson. And core principle 7, integrity and character. Sales success, he said, requires honesty, integrity, and character. He infused his teachings with faith, loyalty, and ethical behavior. He saw sales as a way to positively impact lives. There's a famous line at the end of this eulogy, ode to the salesman, that I got my dad to. He had it hanging on the wall for a long time down in the basement. I'd forgotten all about it. I saw it when I was there, and so I had him go take it down, and he's going to share it with us now, and some other stuff too. I'm so grateful to my dad for doing this, and my mom too. She got in on the act a little bit here. I'm going to share this with you. It's dear to me. I hope it's dear to you, this conversation. I'm going to remember this one forever. As soon as I bring it up. Here we go. As much as I was just talking, let me just preface this. Death of a Salesman, the play by Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller, yes, seen by many as a communist, but I never believed he was a communist. I read that book, I think it was grade 9. Play. It's a play. Arthur Miller, as much as people accused him of being a communist, he literally lived the American dream. He was an American, and as capitalistic as they come, I suppose, in many ways, because he profited, he became an American success story. For crying out loud, the guy married Marilyn Monroe, the symbol of America's sex symbol. A female symbol of corporatocracy, right? And the U.S. media empire, that she was responsible, along with Elvis and a handful of others like James Dean of the day, of really building on the success of Hollywood that had come to that time, and establishing, I think, Hollywood and America as a media powerhouse that today has evolved and morphed into what we have. That is, it's not just a movie manufacturing facility, it's a social media mega machine that is so powerful now. I think we're in danger of having our minds completely controlled. Thank you, Marilyn. But anyway, Arthur Miller married Marilyn Monroe. One, not her only husband, but there's a guy who had it all for a while. And the story, Death of a Salesman, critique of America, critique of the American dream, critical of it. But through it all, the main character, Willie Loman, depressed, falls into the traps that come with the American dream. He has an affair while on the road, and because of that, his whole life really falls apart because he gets caught by his son while he's on the road. And then you get this web of lies that just that flows from that, because nobody can tell Willie's wife. The son can't tell his mom. They hide the truth. This makes me think of everything going on today too, because this is at the heart of so much of our trouble. This dishonesty that is out there, political rhetoric and bafflegab and just automatic knee-jerk negative reactions to everything to score political points, even at the expense of the country itself. Well, the truth is sitting over there, ready to be acknowledged and spoken of, but no, you don't talk about the truth. You ramp it up. You exaggerate over here to score a political point, to scare the shit out of people with spin. It's not honest. It's not truthful. And then I don't want to vote for you anyway, because that's not genuine. So where's the freedom in that? There's no freedom in it, because you're bound by this lie, just like Willie Loman, who descends into depression because it's a demon that just eats him alive. His family falls apart. If you have, and finally he ends up committing suicide by taking his car and crashing it intentionally, which is in itself a metaphor for America crashing for me. This is why I wrote on the thumbnail the other night, death of America, not death to America, death of America. America is self-destructing. And a lot of it is because of the guy in the White House. Because he lies. The people around him lie. I've been watching pro-conservative, whatever the hell that means these days, pro-conservative streamers, especially over on Rumble tonight. I've been watching them running interference and making excuses for Donald and what he's doing in the Middle East, and pretending like the escalating oil prices aren't even an issue. Oh, the mainstream media, they're lying. This isn't a problem. You just give it another day. It's going to be fine. Look, it came down. The oil prices tanked. They didn't tank. They spiked from like $40 to like 124, 120, 115. That's a freaking problem. Then they came down to like 85. It's still a problem. And it ain't over. It's not over. But no, they're running interference because that's their team. That's not truth. They're cheerleaders, just like Jasmine Lane. She's on a team, just like Tucker Carlson is on a team. I don't know. People keep asking me, what, are you a conservative or are you a liberal? I'm me. I'm tired of the labels. I don't want a label. So you call me whatever the hell you want. I'm on your side, even if you think I'm not. I'm on everybody's side. I want everybody to succeed. I want Canada to succeed. I want the United States to succeed. And I want the people in Iran to have a good life too. I'd prefer if we could get there without bombing the crap out of them, but we'll see how that goes. I know this. I learned this from my dad, watching him over the years. You don't punch your customers in the face. They don't like it, Donald. Jasmine. I'm sick of it. I won't participate in it with any of you. Lies, 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 half-truths, spin. Too much at stake right now. Freedom comes from truth. Learned that from my dad. First of all, how are you?
I'm fine.
Well, that's good. How's your hip?
Oh, it's good.
Everybody wants to know about your hip.
Oh, God, I'm a little hippie, but it's just fine.
That's good. Come closer to the phone. You're not too. I can't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Shut it down. Can you hear me now?
Kinda, I guess. Yeah. Okay, just that's better. Now I can hear you. I've got you. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today really is because there's this young girl and she has a podcast thing where she talks about politics, and she posted a video about Canada and Mark Carney and talked about him traveling all over the world to make these trade deals because of Donald Trump's tariffs. And she got really critical of, because that's what she does. She just very negative about Canada and the of course Mark Carney. And so she said that if Canada was really if Canada had anything to offer, essentially, if Canada was really had energy that the world wanted, or things that the world wanted, Mark Carney wouldn't have to go and promote Canada around the world, that he wouldn't need to essentially go and sell Canada or what we have to offer to other countries. They would just come to us. And I thought that's really, first of all, wrong. Secondly, pretty disrespectful, not just of the country, not just of the prime minister, but to salespeople in general. And I thought about you because, of course, you were a salesman, right? And for years and years and years selling chewing gum. And then I know that downstairs on the wall, you have that little, I don't know what you call it. It's not a poem, but it's some sort of a, what is it? What?
It's a statement about salesmen.
Yeah, a statement about salesmen. And it's been up there for years. And when I was there after your operation, I saw it again, and I was reading it. And so it came to mind when I watched this video that this young girl had posted. And it bothered me, honestly, what she had said, because for all the reasons I just stated. So I thought I would call you and I would get you to read that to people tonight, because as far as I'm concerned, one of the most important jobs that a prime minister or a president or the mayor of a city or a municipal councilor or the premier of a province or a governor of a state, anybody that represents their community, the number one job they have, maybe not the number one job, but one of the top jobs, is to be the number one cheerleader for your community or your country, and to go around and promote and sell, to bring jobs and prosperity to your community, to your constituents, to your people, to your citizens, keep things safe, but also bring people prosperity and stability, and jobs, and to help sell everything around the world. So he's doing his job. And so it just really bothered me. And it's because I know that I've done some sales work over the years, and it's really hard. It's very difficult work, and everything just depends on it. So what do you think of that?
Oh, it's true. Because you tell her that the shipping out of Vancouver, they're shipping to other countries goods from this country. It's up 8%.
Yeah.
So other countries are buying from us because we've sold it to them.
Yes, that's right. And you have to promote that stuff. And so I just thought about you. I used to think about how hard it was for you to go to work every day and sell chewing gum to stores. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy job a lot of the time, and on the road, and store to store to store you would go, selling chewing gum and candy, and you had good products to sell, and it was a big company. So there was always that to provide stability, but it's never easy to sell. But everybody depends on the salespeople. But salespeople, they're lumped in with, and criticized and mocked. People make fun of them because it's just a cliche, the used car salesman cliche, but even there, you have to have a car salesman. Otherwise, the people on the assembly lines, the cars don't get sold, and those people don't work, So anyway, I thought maybe you could read that thing for us tonight to share that, because it really kind of tells the tale. Can you do that for us?
It's true. I've got it here in front of me now.
Okay. Can you read it for us?
Sure.
Get that phone pretty close so we can hear you. Yeah, so it's nice.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Read it now?
Yeah, go ahead. We're all set.
Okay. This is about the salesman. Salesmen are a big problem to their bosses, their customers, their wives, to credit managers, hotels, and sometimes to each other. Individually and collectively, they are cussed and discussed in sales meetings, conventions, behind closed doors, in bathrooms, bar rooms, and under one's breath, from the many angles and with the same fervor as the new deal. They make more noise and more mistakes, create more cheer, correct more errors, with more differences, spread more gossip, explain more discrepancies, hear more grievances, pacify more belligerents, and waste more time under pressure, all without losing their temper, than any class we know, including ministers. They live in hotels, cabs, tents, on trains, buses, and park benches. Eat all kinds of food, drink all kinds of liquids, good and bad. They sleep before, during, and after business, with no more schedule than the Weather Bureau, and with no sympathy from the office. Yet salesmen are a power in society and in the public economy. In many ways, they are a tribute unto themselves. They draw and spend more money with less effort and with less return than any group in business. They come at the most inappropriate time under the slightest pretext. They stay longer under more opposition, ask more personal questions, make more comment, put up with more than any group of body, including the Army. They introduce more new goods, dispose of more old goods, load or move freight cars, unload more ships, build more factories, start more new businesses, write more debits and credits in our ledgers than all other people in Canada. With all their faults, they keep the wheels of commerce turning and the currents of human emotions running. More cannot be said of any man. Be careful who you call a salesman, lest you might flatter him.
That's right. That is right. Yeah. Does it say who wrote that? I don't know where that's from.
I'm not sure, but whoever wrote it had it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably a salesman. Make a salesman's boss. Who knows?
Maybe.
He realized, maybe the boss, when he realized that without the salesman, he wouldn't have a job.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was, you used to be on the road every day, and
every day.
Yeah, driving around in your car, and always loaded up with your chewing gum samples and display racks, and towing your trailer and dragging those things off to stores and setting them up and everything. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of slugging. And you know what else? I've been drinking that Werner's ginger ale. And every time I take another swig of Werner's ginger ale, I think about you talking about your days on the Werner's ginger ale pop truck, which was in itself kind of a sales job, wasn't it?
Sales job. I had to sell it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
And
I had to sell the retailer under the, or to convince him that he should have our product, and he should have as much of it as he could handle, and he would do that. He'd sell it, and I would go back and see him next week.
yeah.
Oh, yep. Did
Yeah.
that for a long time.
Yeah. Did you like doing it, or did it suck? Was
Oh, it was fine.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. With like Ryan, my son, for people who don't know, he was working in car dealerships there for a while, and did some sales work. But when he started doing that, I said to him, it's that's a really hard job. He didn't always work in sales, but I said when he was doing sales work, I said, just one thing to keep in mind, because I've seen so many people do this. I said, don't sell your soul.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't rip
That's
people
right.
off, treat people right, because you have to live with yourself after,
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
and if you treat people right, they'll come back. They'll come back to you and you'll have a long career. But if you don't treat people right, you might make some money up front for a while, but it'll just come back to bite you in the end. Yeah.
Well, I met so many different people in the 30 years that I was in sales. It's amazing that people with their attitudes, their convictions, all that nonsense. That you never. What I learned a long time ago, son. That don't let your customer dictate your day. When you first see that guy in the morning, if he's in a bad mood, don't let that rub off on you. Because the next guy you see might just be perfect,
Yeah.
He might be happy-go-lucky. So you never judge a book by its cover.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Never let them get you down or grind you down, right? Because yeah. And that's so true. Doing door-to-door sales has to be probably the hardest, I think. Maybe, I don't know.
I've done that too.
Yeah.
When I worked for a dry cleaner, we'd go door to door. We'd go door to door, soliciting business from people for dry cleaning. And if they had some, we could take it with us and then bring it back the following 2 or 3 days later, whenever it was. And we used to travel all across the city of London here doing that. I did that for 3 or 4 years.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Wow. I have a couple of stories to share with you that you might remember, you might not. And I'll save this other one for last because I'm gonna attach a joke to it. But when I was probably grade 9. Anyway, English class. I had to read a bunch of different books, and I came home and I had Death of a Salesman, the play, right? You probably don't remember, but I had it on the kitchen table, and I was reading it for school, and you saw it, and you said, "What's this?" I said, "Well, it's Death of a Salesman." Anyway, we were making jokes about it when you saw that. It was kind of strangely, it just was stuck in my head, and I've been thinking a lot about it. Then I watched that video with this young girl, and then I thought more about the play. Then I thought about this other stuff, and the play. You probably, I don't know if you ever saw the play or if you ever read it. Probably not. I did because I did for school. It always stuck with me because of you. And it's a tragedy, right? And it's a tragedy that ends in the suicide of the salesman. But really, it's not a story so much about death. It's a critique of America, which is also why I've been thinking about it, because to me, the death of the salesman really symbolizes it's a way of commenting on maybe even the death of America today because of the way Donald Trump goes around selling America. Like when you were out selling, did you ever like threaten your customers with tariffs or sanctions?
No.
If you don't buy my Vernors or my chewing gum, I'm going to sanction you. We're going to put a blockade around your store. That's the way he does business. That's the way he does deals. But I don't think that really works very well, does it?
It's backfired on him.
Yes, it is. I think so, Dad. Yeah, I think so. And it's sad because people are going to be suffering because you see what's going on with the oil prices right now.
Oh yeah,
it's terrible.
I paid $1.49. I paid $1.49 today.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, $1.37.
Yes. Well, I paid $1.15 before all this started, right? Because it was going up and down a little bit, but it was hitting a low at times $1.13. I've seen it here. Now it's like $1.50. I had to pay the other day, yesterday. So just to get around town a little bit, that's terrible. And I see some people trying to make excuses for him, but I think this is unfortunately maybe just the beginning, and it's going to hurt people a lot because it's going to affect the prices of everything, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The price of diesel fuel goes way up. Truckers got to charge more to deliver, and that's puts the price of everything up. Consumer pays for it in the end.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, you know what? A lot of people see this program. A lot of politicians, the prime minister himself might even see this. I'm not joking. Like he could see it. So what if you had some advice to give Mark Carney as he goes around the world making trade deals and selling Canada and selling everything that we have to offer the world? What would be your advice as a salesman to the prime minister?
That's kind of a good question, but I think what he has to do is believe in his product, which is of course Canada.
Yeah.
And domestic. And he has to believe in that himself. And if he does thoroughly believe in that, then he can sell that product to other countries, and he can sell Canada to other countries and convince them that we're a good country to trade with. We have good products to trade with, and just keep up the good work because that's what he has to do.
Yes. That's the key to it all, isn't it? You have to believe in product. Yeah, you have to believe in it. That was my problem when I was selling vacuum cleaners. You remember when I sold vacuum cleaners?
Yeah, I bought one.
Yes, I know. I know. But you know what my problem with that was? I thought they were too much money. Because they were crazy expensive. These Filter Queen vacuum cleaners that I got a job selling Filter Queens. And they would give you the leads, and then you'd have to drive around and go to people's houses. And I did believe in the vacuum cleaner. They were great vacuum cleaners. Really good. But man, were they expensive. And so I would go in and I would do the whole pitch. And then you'd have this accessory package that you were supposed to sell them, right? And I would be like, you don't really need this. It's really expensive. Like, I don't know. Because they often send you to people who really, you could tell they were on welfare, or they didn't have any money, or the guy just lost his job, but they wanted to sell those things so bad. And the guy was working for, I think he had a franchise or something. He was kind of a jerk. And he was checking up on me with follow-up calls and stuff. And he found out that I was at some guy's house, and he wasn't working, and the family, I could tell they just didn't have any money, and they wanted to buy this vacuum cleaner, and it was a good but I was like, I couldn't bring the accessory package almost doubled the price, and you got like the perfume dispenser thing with it, and the the spray, the thing to spray paint and stuff. It was like, you don't know, you need a vacuum cleaner, you don't need all this stuff, stop spending your money. Anyway, I got in trouble for that, and I don't know if you remember this, but the guy was nasty to me, right? And I got fired. And so I don't remember what it was. I think it was because I was owed a commission or something and I didn't get paid. And I think you ended up you called you got mad and you phoned the head office or something because of the way this guy treated me. Do you remember all of that?
Vaguely. Come back a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And here's where the joke comes in.
My mom says she didn't.
Mom mom was my first customer. I still laugh about that because, in fact, if you remember the sales pitch, I brought that thing home and I was testing my sales pitch on you guys. And then he's like, "That's it. I want one. I want one." And I was like, "No, you don't." And I tried to talk her out of it. Do you remember me trying to talk her out of it? What's that?
Yeah.
What?
It was a good machine.
It was a very good machine, but man, that was a lot of money. You're like, "I'm buying it." And I guess just because you loved me so much. But I felt so guilty because you were my first customer. I was just trying out my sales pitch and you're like, "I'm going to buy that thing." And you did, you bought it. And we had that for years and years, that machine. It was a good vacuum cleaner.
It cost me a month's paycheck just to pay for it.
Oh, I know. It was, oh my God, it was so expensive at the time. Especially back that was in the early 80s, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I think it was well over $1,000 at the time.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was
Over
$12 or $1,400
Yeah.
in that range. It was crazy expensive. I was like, "Oh my God, no, don't buy it." See, I just, because I did believe in the machine, but I didn't believe in the pricing. And that's why I wasn't successful doing it.
Oh, but here was my son. I was going to give you the sale.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. I enjoyed the machine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about it.
It was worth it.
I'm sorry about it too.
They still make those things, and they're very good vacuum cleaners. I think you can get them for less money now.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think you can buy them on the internet, but
They're not built as good now either.
I don't know about that. I don't know. They were made in Canada back in those days. They were made in Canada and they were built like tanks. And man, they had like, here I am selling these vacuum cleaners now online. This is not an ad. I'm not getting any money. That they had like a cyclone type of, or tornadoes like feature, like the air swirls around inside, and it really, they have a lot of suction, and they were really good machines and really well built. All the rubber and everything was really high quality on all the ends of the hoses, very high quality. And actually, that vacuum cleaner, years later, it was wearing out the motor, and I took that motor apart and I went to a little old electronics, like an electrical repair place. A really old fella worked there right near the end of his career. He was, been there like for a million years. And I said, "I need these brushes for the electric motor." And he just looked at me. "Oh yeah, I've got those." He just walks in the back. He's got them, brings them out. I took those things home and I fixed that motor, and I used it around here for quite a few years after that, after all those years. So that's how well they were built. And I was able to fix that thing up just by putting new brushes in the electric motor. But that was pretty cool. But here's the thing, the sales pitch, right? Part of it was you would demonstrate the vacuum up all the dirt. Like you'd vacuum the customer's carpet that you're trying to, the prospect, right? You'd vacuum all the dirt up, and then at the end, if they didn't buy the vacuum, you took the dirt and you dumped it back on their carpet. And
They did
yeah,
that,
that's what that guy taught us to do. So you dump all the dirt back on the carpet, and then you start packing up the vacuum and everything. And then the customer is going to be pissed off because you just put the dirt on the carpet. And then what you're supposed to say is, well, it was there when I came in, right? It's all yours. I don't want your dirt. I need to go to the next house. Right. So what are you worried about if you see what the point is? And that was the next stage you go to try to continue the sales pitch. And I felt guilt. I never did that to people. I couldn't do that.
But that was your first and only sale.
Yes, that's right. So I never did that, but that's what the guy was teaching us to do. And that's another reason I had trouble with the boss. I only worked there for, it was about a week or maybe a week and a half. And then I got fired because I wasn't doing all the nasty high pressure sales stuff. Right.
That's right.
And so I sucked at that. I think I sold you one, and I think I sold one to one other person, and then I got fired. So that was a short-lived job. And but here's my joke for you, Dad.
Yeah.
Because normally I get you to tell me a joke. This is a salesman joke. Salesman, door-to-door salesman selling vacuums knocks on a door. And this gentleman comes to the door, and he opens the door. And the door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman says, "I'm here to demonstrate this vacuum. Could I come in and show you how it works?" And the guy says, "Oh, I don't really need a vacuum cleaner. Thanks very much. Have a nice day." The guy says, "Well, this is the best vacuum cleaner ever. And here, in fact, you know what? To prove how good this vacuum cleaner is, here," he takes a handful of manure out of his pocket, and he says, if this vacuum cleaner isn't the best vacuum cleaner you've ever seen, I will, and I can't vacuum all this up off your carpet, I will eat it." And he throws it all on the carpet, right? and the guy says, "Cutlery's in the kitchen. They turned my hydro off yesterday."
I hope he had fun.
No, I hope he's in my couple of slices of bread to put it between.
So anyway, there you go. So I shared a joke with you today.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Well, anyway, here's my hats. Regardless of who's out there selling, whether it's the prime minister or anybody else tonight, I salute all the salespeople, and you know what? I thank you to the prime minister, honestly, for doing what you're doing, for flying all around the world, making deals, and dealing with the crazy man in the White House. It's a tough job right now. I can't think of a time when it has been more difficult to lead the country because of all the craziness going on,
Yeah.
So regardless of who has the job, conservative, liberal, New Democrat, whatever,
That's right.
I just tough times, man, and it's a very, very tough job right now. So I unlike that young girl, I have respect for what he's doing, and I'm grateful. So just thought I'd share that, and thank you, Dad, for doing this tonight.
No problem.
Okay.
Anytime.
Okay. Talk to you later. Oh, and good luck with your driving test tomorrow.
I don't give a test. I just draw a picture of a clock, and you have you look in the screen, you check your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And other than that, if they have to take me out to test drive me, it might be free or something. So.
All right. Well, I'm sure it'll go fine. And
I'm sure.
Happy motoring. Talk to you later.
Okay, buddy.
Bye.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Love you. Take care.
$94. We'll find out if he gets to keep his driver's license tomorrow. I was 16 when I was selling those vacuum cleaners. And I was driving around town in a 77 Plymouth Fury. I believe in Canada. And I have respect for salesmen, salespeople. Because of what I learned when I was young. And there were lots of lessons that I learned back then, and I'm still learning every day. I'm still learning from Death of a Salesman. I learned from that play by Arthur Miller that, because the message, and there are many messages, is that you have to learn to forgive others and forgive yourself when you do, or when mistakes are made. Otherwise, they can consume you. But even more important is you have to be honest with others and yourself. You have to acknowledge the truth. You can't keep spinning lies. Because if you do, just like Willie Loman, low man, those lies will eventually consume and destroy you. That goes for each of us as individuals. That goes for us collectively as a society, as a country. Stop lying. Be honest with others, with the country, with yourself, Jasmine. Everybody. Me. I was 16 when I was selling those vacuum cleaners. Gas was pretty expensive back then. That old Plymouth that I was driving had a 364 barrel. Passed everything but a gas station. Cost me more money driving around in gasoline than I made selling any of those vacuum cleaners. Either of them, both. Two, one to my mom. Made that sale because she loved me. More life tomorrow. Thank you for a great life. To my favorite salesman, my dad. See you guys back here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side, there's a little song about my first ride.
I was just a kid, 16 and wild. Dad tossed me the keys to go drive a while. As she sat gleaming blue under the sun, a 7.7 Fury built to run. 360 under the hood, 4 barrels screaming. Luxury and muscle like a dream I was dreaming. Leather seat smooth, dash lit up bright. When I hit that pedal, she took off in flight. Felt that Mopar magic deep in my soul. That Fury was more than just in control. On the Fury road, I found my way. Luxury and power burning through the day. The engines roar, the open sky. I learned to drive, I learned to fly. That blue Plymouth, fast than me. Fury in my heart, living the dream. Cruising down the street, heads turning around. People knew that sound. and it shook the ground. Chrome and steel, the power in my hands. That Mopar magic no one understands. She had a glide so smooth, but the punch was raw. Every mile in that Fury left me in awe. From red lights to highways, I made her run. Every time I on the wheel, I was the only one. With the deep blue shine and the power she gave. In that Plymouth Fury, I felt brave. On the Fury Road, I found my way. Luxury and power burning through the day. The engines roar, the open sky. I learned to drive, I learned to fly. That blue Plymouth, fast and me. Fury in my heart, living the dream. From red lights to highways, pure steel pride. Taught me how to roll, taught me how to ride. With every turn, with every mile, that Fury gave me my own style. Now every road takes me back in time to the day I felt that engine's prime. On the Fury Road, I found my way. Luxury and power burning through the day. The engines roar, the open sky. I learned to drive, I learned to fly. That blue Plymouth, fast and me. Fury in my heart, living the dream. Now I ride, but nothing feels the same. Without that Fury, it's just a game. She was my first, my Mopar queen. Still hear her roar in my gasoline dream. Yeah, that 7.7 Plymouth will always be the ride that set me free.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.